Member for Sinesine Hon.
Thank you, Assistant Speaker. My question is a series of questions will be directed to the Attorney General. The Attorney General is a man that I respect highly. He's a man of integrity and always means well. But I think recently he's been misled. He's been misled by people with vested interests into violating the very laws that he's supposed to be upholding by example. So I want to ask these questions to ask him to give him an opportunity to explain himself and clear himself and distance himself from this mess. As we know, in this country, we are a country of laws. This parliament, everything we do, everything we say is provided for or should be provided for by our law. So we operate inside those boundaries. If there is no law about a certain things, it means you are not supposed to do it. That's the basic principle. So right now, we know that the Attorney General from the media, much publicized, even in today's paper, certain advertisements have appeared about the appointment of a certain number of senior lawyers to be King's counsel. Now, I, as a former practitioner myself, have a deep and abiding respect for a couple of those people who have been named in those appointments. And what I say is not intended to cast any aspersions on their reputation and integrity. But I say in my faith and belief that we have a duty to uphold the integrity of our laws, of which is the Attorney General's primary duty. So the questions, there's 11 questions. I want the Attorney General to take note of each and every one of them and answer them carefully and correctly based on proper law. Number one, isn't it correct, Attorney General, that the Lawyers Act is the only law in Papua New Guinea that provides for the practice of law by lawyers? Number one. Number two, does the Attorney General agree that the Lawyers Act as a legislation overrides any pronouncements of the common law, which is interpretation by the judges from the courtroom? Number three, can the Attorney General confirm whether the Lawyers Act makes provisions for the existence and operations of a group of lawyers called solicitors? Number four, can the Attorney General confirm if the Lawyers Act makes similar provisions for the operation of another class of lawyers called barristers? Number five, if the answer to questions 3 and 4 are no, isn't it the case, Mr. Attorney General, that the Lawyers Act makes provisions for a merged profession that does not recognize the distinction between barristers or solicitors, but under the Lawyers Act requires them to practice under the label of lawyers only by law in this country? Number six, does the Attorney General agree that under the Lawyers Act there is no express or implied grant of power for him to appoint King's counsel as a professional award? Number seven, does he agree that the KC award system is a professional award system, as distinguished from a civil or imperial award system like the Logohu system or the British imperial award system. Number 8, can the Attorney General agree that he never involved the judiciary in his selection of the candidates? Because the judiciary have the most visibility on the ability of lawyers appearing in the courtrooms. Number 9, can he also admit or deny that he never consulted the Papua New Guinea Law Society, who by virtue of the Lawyers Act is the only authority authorized by law to give out awards, such as licenses to practice law that includes a restricted practicing certificate or an unrestricted practicing certificate. Finally, number 10, because he has assumed, the Attorney General has assumed the power, unilaterally assumed the power of appointing these people, can he now also agree that the next Attorney General, whoever he may be, has the same power to revoke those appointments, therefore giving no stability to those appointments? And finally, can he admit in all sincerity and in good faith that he has made a blunder and committed a scandal and made a mockery of the laws, including in particular the Lawyers Act, that he is supposed to be championing, upholding, and maintaining, and politicizing it? Thank you.
Thank you, Minister for Justice.
Thank you, Assistant Speaker. I have a lot of time for my colleague and my friend and my brother. So I will have to answer this question if you can give me the answers, and then I'll answer it. Questions. I'll answer it. But in the outset, let me tell you, if Solomon Islands, a small country, have cases or Queen's Council, Papua New Guinea can have its own council that the state is.
Minister, you have a point of order. Member for Kerenga, what is your point of order, please?
My point of order, Mr. Speaker, is that the questions are very specific and confined and related to the Constitution and the Lawyers Act and prescription at law. So if the good Attorney General could confine his response to that, that would help this House and the explanations that we are seeking. The last one, if there is a confusion, perhaps the last question he could answer in the affirmative and agree that he's made a mockery of the legal profession in this country.
Yes.
So tell him, Mr. Speaker, that a reference to Solomon Islands and copying Solomon Islands as a small jurisdiction in the Pacific is of no assistance to this country's and the questions that are raised.
Honourable Member, thank you. And blog asking blog member plus Sinesine Hon Minister la breakim so la remem kam namel nami plus kelem tukto question. Minister me allow me lot.
Thank you. I'll get the questions and I'll answer.
Thank you.
What I'm saying is, this country can make laws. This country can do exercise. Some people are scared to make laws or make amendments to the Constitution. It is time that we have to stand up to it. Shut up and sit down. Sit down.
Honorable member, let me allow you long point of order. Minister, Lord Chair, me ask him you can withdraw him. Word belong you shut up and sit down.
Honourable Member, Mr. Assistant Speaker, I certainly withdraw it. I sincerely apologize.
Honourable Member, what is your point of order?
My point of order, Mr. Speaker, is that the good Attorney General is not answering the question. Whether dreaming up legislation is not going to assist the question. If the law hasn't been passed by this House, you can't talk about law that has not been passed by the House. There is no law, no legal basis. So he needs to confine his answers to the questions. If there are no answers today, perhaps he can come back another time with a properly detailed response. We can move on in the interest of time.
Thank you, Honourable Member. Your point of order is in order, so you can, Minister can answer the question.
I believe they take note of that and I'll get the answers, questions and answered. Thank you. If I offended anyone, I sincerely apologize.